Hi everyone, Christoudias Spyrou here, Neomed's functional medicine practitioner and nutritionist. One of the common questions that I get as a nutritionist is, Tina, should I be going on the ketogenic diet? Although this term ketogenic, keto diet, ketosis diet has been thrown around a lot lately, it's become a fad. Even though the ketogenic diet has been thrown around as a new fad diet, it's not exactly new. It's been around since the 1920s, when Johns Hopkins University used it to help treat epilepsy patients. They used it in a fashion so that to mimic the fasting state, because they found that when a person is in the fasting state and not eating, it actually helps to improve brain function. Fast forward to today, and we see that the ketogenic diet can actually be used for many different things, such as for weight loss, for regulating hormonal function, for helping with insulin resistance, and for help regulating blood glucose levels. And so a lot of people are just like, oh, just tell me how to do it so that I can lose weight. But I think that it's important for us to understand what exactly is happening in the body so that we have a little bit more incentive to choose carefully what we're eating so that we can successfully go on a ketogenic diet so that we can reap all the health benefits. So essentially what's happening is that when we're eating carbohydrates or starchy foods, things like potatoes, rice, breads, pastas, or even some vegetables like sweet potatoes or some starchier kinds of vegetables like courgette and zucchini. When we're eating these kinds of carbohydrates, they actually raise our blood sugar. And when we eat these carbohydrates, we essentially become sugar burners. Okay, so when we eat too many of them, our body basically says, okay, well, there's too much of this, let's store it as fat. So what we want to do when we're going on a ketogenic diet is to actually change from being sugar burners to fat burners, okay? Our body can only store glucose in the form of glycogen in the liver and the muscles for only about 24 hours. After this, if we deplete the amount of carbohydrates we're eating, actually tricking the body that we're going into a fasting state, the liver actually starts to produce ketones. When you produce enough ketones in your body, this becomes the energy source. You get your energy from ketones instead of your energy from glucose and sugar. And when the level of ketones slowly rises enough in the blood, you're in a state of ketosis and you're actually burning more fat for your energy. And this is why on a proper ketogenic diet, we can actually see fat loss happen quite quickly and effectively until we get to a better state of health. Now, when we're talking about the ketogenic diet, we don't want people to kind of dive right into it because there's a few things to consider first. For example, if you have adrenal dysfunction, if you're one of these people that gets very jittery and you have blood sugar issues, you have to eat every 3 hours because you get tired and cranky and actually kind of dizzy from not eating. First, we need to address those blood sugar issues. Even though the ketogenic diet can help to address the blood sugar issues, it may be prudent to kind of ease your way into it rather than just cut carbohydrates altogether, because that can actually be a little bit dangerous. So you have to work with somebody that knows what they're doing to kind of ease you in. So what I like to do with my patients is to give them firstly a modified keto diet. Okay, and this is working with about 30 to 50 grams of carbohydrates initially. So, most people, to get into a state of ketosis, they need even less than 30 grams of carbohydrate per day. And so what we're doing with a modified keto diet is to make sure we're getting a lot of the carbohydrates from plant sources. And this means eating plenty of non-starchy vegetables. You know, your green leaves like rocket leaves and spinach leaves and lettuce and kale, all these kinds of foods. And then making sure that we're getting plenty of fat in the diet. So we're essentially replacing our carbohydrates with fat. And the great thing with fat is that it gives us a sense of satiety so that we're not hungry, so that we're not looking for sources of energy all the time. And so replacing things like bread and pasta and crisps with avocados, olive oil, olives, coconut oil, all these kinds of different kinds of oils and fats, we're actually helping to increase satiety, and we're helping to get our sugar burning mode into fat burning mode. Okay, we can also eat lots of nuts and seeds to help increase the amounts of fats that we're eating. Of course, all of this should be tailored to your needs because everyone is going to have food intolerances. All of us are going to have issues with what kinds of foods that we're eating. So make sure you're working with a nutritionist or a functional medicine practitioner that knows about the ketogenic diet and is able to tailor it to you. A side note here, a lot of ketogenic diets often include dairy. Dairy, from my experience, is especially conventional dairy, is a very inflammatory food, all right? So if you're causing more inflammation in the body, you may be on a strict ketogenic diet, but because there's more inflammation, you actually don't lose weight the way you'd like, all right? So a lot of the time I do tell my patients to go on a ketogenic diet, not to include dairy and to use other fat sources to get them on an anti-inflammatory ketogenic diet. Another thing that the ketogenic diet does help to do is to kind of give the liver a break from processing all the glucose in the body. And it does help with people that have a lot of insulin resistance, that are not able to lose weight because they have insulin resistance. What exactly is insulin resistance? It's when insulin is the hormone that helps glucose get into the cell to actually do work, to create energy. When there's too much glucose in the blood, there's too much insulin in the blood, the cell actually says, nope, we don't want any more insulin, thank you very much. And insulin kind of raises in the blood. And when this happens, insulin is actually a fat-storing hormone, especially around the belly area. So we do notice people that do eat a lot more carbohydrate, and we know them by looking at their bellies. Okay, so this is what we want to try to reverse by putting you in a state of fasting with the ketogenic diet. So it's a very effective tool for hormone regulation when it comes to insulin, and then insulin also affects things like our thyroid health. It also affects things like estrogen and progesterone and testosterone when it comes to hormonal health. So by just changing our diet and changing from being a sugar burner and becoming a fat burner, we help to alleviate all of these issues. On another level too, it also helps to increase our mitochondrial function. When we're talking energy, a lot of people say, eat carbohydrates to get energy. The science is actually opposite to that. So when we decrease the amount of carbohydrates that we're eating, we're actually stimulating mitochondrial growth. Mitochondria are our little energy makers in the cell. So the more we fast, the more we decrease carbohydrate, the more energy we get, the more energetic we feel throughout the day, the better we're able to focus and concentrate, the better mood that we create by taking away all these carbohydrates. If you have any questions on the ketogenic diet, or if perhaps you'd like to go on the ketogenic diet but like some guidance, please feel free to contact Neomed and we'd be happy to help. Thanks a lot, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.